Let's create a pivotal impact. Friends in the industry. So for quite some time now, I've spoken on the incredible benefits of integrating the right technologies into your business. But you have to make sure that it's right, because ultimately that can help your day-to-day operations. So technology that could be workflow automation, electronic logging devices, or even vehicle maintenance. Furthermore, I always encourage speaking to industry leaders that you can actually trust to provide accurate guidance to you and your operation with the ultimate goal of creating a pivotal impact. Super stoked for today's episode as I speak to my buddy Tim Schenk, Director of Business Development with FleetGroup. So during our conversation, we dive into Tim's journey in the transportation industry. We talk about FleetGroup and the different offerings they offer from consulting, training, and their membership platform. So I encourage you to check out FleetGroup by visiting www.fleetgroup.com. But if you have any questions, make sure you email Tim directly. I've obviously included his email in the show notes. So if this is the first time you've ever checked out a Truck Focus podcast episode, I welcome you to our community. And all of our dedicated listeners, I just wanted to continue to say thank you so much for your investment of time. Make sure you like this episode, subscribe, but share it out, because Tim and I really have a great conversation. And I really appreciate Tim's just approach and his view on just how we can serve industry better by using the right softwares, the right technologies, and ultimately building a community. So let's get to it. Hey, Tim, welcome to the Truck Focus podcast. Super excited for our conversation today, kind of on a number of fronts. First off, I really respect the fact that we align with family. We align with just our values as people. And I think that's really important as we're navigating just obviously in the transportation space, dealing with consultants, carriers, maintenance people. They want to know they can work with people they can actually trust. And I really respect that about you. Obviously, off camera, we were talking about basketball, which I also think is super cool. And I'll highlight Jason Kidd behind you. A lot of memories from the past. And yeah, I'm excited to talk about your journey, but also talk about FleetGroup and the platform itself, who you're serving, how it's going. But yeah, welcome to the podcast.
Sure. Great to be here, Josh.
Absolutely. Thanks, man. Yeah. Why don't you start us off? Who is Tim? And share a little bit about your backstory, just, in the transportation industry, in the maintenance sector, and we can kind of navigate from there.
Sure. Well, I actually joined the company in 2009. And we had a job board called fleetjobs.com. And it was for hiring technicians, mechanics, drivers. So I kind of worked that for about 3 years. We sold that off to try to focus on new opportunities. So ever since then, I've been Director of Business Development for FleetGroup Consulting. And what we do is we are a fleet maintenance consulting company that can assist any entity or organization that owns their own assets. And the best way to give an example, we have 1 to 2 day technician training courses that are in-house, actually boots on the ground. We have off-the-shelf products such as air brake training, federal annual inspection training, fleet management supervisor training. And these are all done in-house, 1 to 2 day. And on the overall operations side, we could come in and do an analysis and see how you're running day to day. And that's a very popular item right now because it's a week long and it can kind of give you a really good idea of what you need to be doing and how to get there. So at the end of that week, you'll actually have a report that you could use. Obviously, we would like to implement that, but it's yours to use how you see fit. So that's kind of the gist of FleetGroup. And then we also took all of that and launched the virtual platform, the Fleet Professional Network, kind of as a resource for the industry.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I think anytime you can offer value in form of a roadmap, it's really key, because it's simple from a customer and a carrier's perspective, a maintenance provider's perspective. You're just busy. And sometimes busyness takes over the business. So when you're able to say, hey, we have some of the best in the industry, we're going to plug ourselves into your business for 5 days or for the week. At the end of it, obviously the implementation on the rollout is key too. So definitely we can upsell that. But I think the value of a roadmap is crucial. Like I often talk in the realm of compliance, like I'll show you the rules to the game so you can just play it better. And I think what you're doing is exactly that. You're helping people find gaps, and there's a lot of knowledge there. So I guess from a customer standpoint, can you share some of the feedback? We'll stick with the positives, where someone's like, I thought I had things under control. You guys came in and you showed us a whole new world of opportunity. Or what are people saying once they kind of go through that process?
Absolutely. Well, usually 99% of the time, once we do that week analysis, we're in with that company for anywhere from 6 to 3 years. I mean, that's on average. And they try to hire our guys away from the company because, they do such a good job. They really get into the company culture. which is fantastic. Right now, the biggest feedback is with software. Is companies, they purchase software, a big fancy software, and they think they're using it correctly. But it turns out, once we show them what the capabilities are, they're not even scratching the surface. So that's really one of the values that we could add is even if you purchase the software, we have end user training that can really get you using it the correct way, because we know the software and we also know the fleet maintenance operations side. So it's kind of all together.
Very smart. It's nice that you guys are living in the future too. So I applaud you. Not enough companies are willing to get away from the pen and paper. Like, I've been doing this.
We go into a company and they just purchase this expensive software and they're still doing everything by paper. And not because they want to, they just didn't know how to make the jump once they purchased it. So that's kind of where we could fit that gap right there.
Very smart. Yeah, purchasing the right technology as well as having the end user training, I think, is key. And again, a lot of our listeners, they're small carriers, they're people that are in the space of how do I get there? Or maybe it's a small carrier and their drivers are saying no. Or maybe it's a larger carrier and their maintenance department is saying no. So I think knowing that, hey, it's the right technology, but you have trusted guidance along the way. And I like the fact that, guys are signing up for a long period of time because they see the value and they see, hey, not only is this going to streamline processes, because I talk often about how streamlining and automation is actually a retention tool. And if you have great techs, you don't want to lose them. And ultimately, if you can give them an environment where, what do you love doing? I love working on equipment. Okay, well, let's take the paperwork away and you can start working more on the equipment. I think that's a really genius, this business model as a whole. So really well done.
Yeah. And one of the main things too, is when we come into a larger organization, the first thing is people get worried that we're firing and this and that, but that's not what we're involved in. We want to take what you have and make it better.
Yeah, agreed. And it's, again, I just like the fact, like I said, from the get-go, we're aligned because, again, you hear that a lot when we're talking, say, telematics, ELDs, and just different processes like, oh, the administrator's going to get fired. No, there's going to be able to do different, more effective stuff because ultimately that's what has to happen. Like it's different. Yeah. When you're in that mindset versus looking at the big picture, like the Google Earth approach, and you see all the moving parts, it's like, no, we're just more effective. We're making more money. People are happier. Oh, you got a raise this year. How is that possible? Well, you know exactly how it's possible. So I really value that model. And I just love knowing that there's good consultants out there. There's great platforms out there that really care about the industry. It's really nice to see.
Good. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So from the platform side, that's another conversation I wanted to dive into. That's obviously how we connected. I think it was actually through Twitter first, maybe 6-ish months ago, where it's honest. I'll speak about the platform itself. So it's a professional platform where I'm super grateful. And as I was saying off camera, I feel like I have a voice when I share content. I feel like you actually are building a relationship with people. So shout out to trucktractortrailer.com, to Alan, because that's how we connected. And from there, it's like, man, you're a good guy. Oh, you're a good guy. Okay. And you can navigate. And I think that trusted space for a specific reason, it's so much better than, like, sure, you could be in a Facebook group, but then you have to filter out all the nonsense of Facebook groups. Like, it's really powerful. So can you dive us or just walk us through, I guess, first, what was the goal creating the platform? And then where can people go if they wanted to sign up for the platform? And then we can kind of navigate through that space.
Sure. And I appreciate that, that you explain kind of what we created the social aspect of it for, is connecting in the industry. Yes, all LinkedIn, Facebook, there's groups, this and that, there's a lot of people, but this is really, a defined niche, that word everybody throws around. So we started the platform by building these online fleet management tools that we realized people need, working with these companies and organizations. They're saying, hey, I can't do this. I can't do this. One of the big challenges was this VMRS coding. And I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's very important for reporting purposes in the maintenance operation. And there's nowhere to go and look up VMRS codes on the internet. So we built one. We built the VMRS Portal. So that's the basis of what the network kind of housed the inception. So the idea is to take all these resources, have it on the platform. So parts people are logging in, technicians are logging in, fleet managers are logging in to use this. So now we wanted to take that and kind of give it a social aspect where you could have vendors, if you will, kind of walk through the aisle of the newsfeed So a mechanic that's logging in to use the VMRS portal can see you put up the Truck Focus podcast and watch it. It's kind of like an all-inclusive community. So that's the basic gist of it. And then we also built the Fleet Service Tracker, and it's a free maintenance repair tracking system for smaller fleets. So even if you have 1 to 2 assets, you really need to be keeping track of costs and repairs. As we just spoke before, technology is a great thing. People are apprehensive about it. You can use this. It's a free tool. And there's also support getting you set up to as well. So that's the gist of the where we're going with the Fleet Professional Network. Yes, the newsfeed looks like LinkedIn, but it's so much more. We use that in a different way where it's spread across the whole platform.
It's powerful. And where do people go to check out the platform?
You can go to fleetgroup.com. That's FleetGroup.com. And there's information all over there. You could sign up, create an account. It's very easy. There's no strings attached. We're just here to really give a resource to the industry, help connect people, and give people like you a voice. And that's what we built it for.
Powerful. And then the free tool that you mentioned, is that something I can include in the show notes? Like the link to that?
Yes. Yep. Okay. The VMRS portal. If you search in Google for VMRS code lookup, we're number 1 organically. So anybody that's looking for VMRS coding right now, we kind of cornered that market there.
Good for you, man. That's exciting. I love it. That's awesome. Okay, cool. So being obviously, as we navigate through this entire pandemic and more people are, if they're working remotely, if they find themselves tied to a computer more, have you seen an uptick in not just necessarily like the community, but just the users and the questions that you're seeing online since this we're almost, I guess, at the 2-year mark now. So have you seen an uptick in that?
I did. Initially in 2020, when we wanted to really push this, I think there was a hesitancy because people didn't know what was going on. You tend to you don't want to give up the in-person events, which is a huge thing, and you never do that. But you also want to have an option where something like this happens. Like when that wave came this year in January, I saw a huge uptick on LinkedIn, on our site, people signing up. I mean, it was after the first of the month, it was a big uptick. So I think we need this kind of hybrid way for people to learn about products and also to educate about products. So, I think that's really important moving forward. Yes. We're not looking to replace the trade show experience. That's impossible. But this is just once a week, if I update my audience on what we're rolling out or, a new product, it's a great way to do that.
Yeah. And I think, so there's I can't remember the official term, so I'm just going to make up the term. But when you go through the entire trade show experience, it's almost like you have an aurora after, and it's almost a honeymoon phase. And it could be, obviously, we're talking trucking, it could be on personal development, and you make 9 million lists and you got 9 million business cards. I'm going to do all these great things till you get back to your office space. And then it's like, was I supposed to do again? Because just that, I don't want to call it like it's not holistic energy, but just like that buzz that you feel, well, it dissipates obviously after time. So that's the value again of the platform is, oh, I met Tim. Oh, and I met Alan and I met these great people. And all of a sudden, hey, we're in a familiar place. I think that's a really huge value add just from a community perspective, building trust. And then, oh, I didn't know you did that, because you can't talk about everything, obviously, when you're at a trade show event, even if you're at a seminar and together, like, yeah, you're kind of confined by the energy and the noise around you. So I just think, yeah, it's a really good just addition, as well as I wouldn't even say just addition, but it's really good. Like, this is where we're always going to meet. And it's just like, Tim constantly posts content on this. Okay, that's really interesting, because that's what I like. I like being a parrot where you're in an environment, someone says something that's really unique. And like, I make notes like crazy, or I'll email myself so I don't forget stuff. And I'm like, man, I'm saying that exact same thing now in this conversation. Because it doesn't matter where you are, people are having similar conversations once you start paying attention. And that's, again, to me, it's a huge value of the platform, because, it's a trusted place, that people are there for similar reasons, and you're not being constantly sold either, which I like, because like, if you need to buy something, you can go look for it, but it's not always getting a DM. Hey, want to buy this? Hey, want to buy that? Because that can get old pretty fast too. So anyway, I could talk about it for a while just because I get excited just on the value.
Nope, I appreciate it. Yeah, and that's what we're looking to do. Nice. It's a free resource. It's if you want to educate about your company, that's great. If you want to connect, that's great. That's what it's there. That's awesome. As it evolves, we're going to add to it too. We're going to be, digitizing all of FleetGroup's training as well. So we're adding this whole new module. So people that are taking our leadership classes or our air brake courses, they're going to see the newsfeed as well. So it's going to be a whole experience.
Super smart. And then so I think you just mentioned it. I was going to ask, what's the cost for, I guess a couple of things. So if you want to check out the platform for the first time, you create a membership. Is there a cost for that? But also, there's no cost? Okay.
The only cost right now is if you want to spread your exposure further. We got the cost per click. We'll put you on a couple more pages. We'll put you on the events section, which really does well on LinkedIn. We have all of the industry events on our site. So if you have an event that you want to promote as well, you could create it using our site and push it right to the news feed on our site and also to every other social site on the internet. So it's just a couple of clicks and you're really reaching a huge audience.
That's really key too. And I actually wasn't aware of that. So I just made a note because ultimately that's like, I have a business coach and he's always talking about getting in front of people. And I think as a student, I'm always like, but where? And it takes time, obviously. So knowing, again, here's a trusted resource, here's a trusted platform with good people. That's really cool. So is that just done through API where you just have that ability then we post it here and it's kind of spreads, or how does that work?
You don't have to physically do it. What you do, you create the event. So you want a truck focused podcast event. You share it to our news feed and you could share it to LinkedIn, Twitter, anywhere you want, Facebook, and it all goes back. So you have kind of a centralized location for your headquarters, but you could get it out there. Because that's what I'm seeing a lot too. There's a lot of these great shows that I'm finding in podcasts and a lot of valuable information. So I want people on our news feed presenting that, the more the better if it's pertinent to our industry.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's awesome. So from a community perspective, do people reach out to you and give their insights, their advice? Like, hey, I'm just a user and I really like this, or hey, I'm actually advertising here and I really like this. What type of feedback are you hearing?
Yeah. So I'm hearing good feedback as you and Al made the connection and we're able to get together. I'm hearing a lot of that. There's a lot of people that really like the idea, but they're just not sure what the concept is or how to do it again. So right now, I'm laying the foundation. I'm happy to walk them through how best to use it. So everybody that hears it thinks it's a great idea, and I might be patting myself on the back. But I haven't heard anybody say, that doesn't sound for me. I mean, maybe one or two people, that's not for me. But for the most part, they're very open to it and they just want to learn more about it and learn how to use it. So that's really a positive for me. I could build off of that, just getting people to understand the best way to, get the most out of it. Because if they do well, I'm going to do well,
Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, that's just a reflection of your character. And I often talk about just things like legacy, things like leadership, because I think people are fast to say, look at my title. And then that's it. It's just like, this is my title. And then you're a ghost. And it's like, well, no. So I like the fact that you're personable. Obviously, the fact that you understand the platform and you understand how if it's a platform, if it's the training, if it's the consulting, how it will make a difference in like their business and then in them as people. I think that all in all, it really does suit your title, but it suits the platform's direction too. I think that's really something that we need to recognize.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I guess talking about legacy, I like talking about legacy all the time. When you're in meetings, when you're dealing with maybe carriers, and this you can answer for your company, you can answer for yourself. You're dealing with people that are struggling. Ultimately, if someone thinks they have it figured out, they're not typically going to say, hey, I need more help. Like people get busy, whatever. So when you're helping people that they can admit to themselves or someone in the company can say, hey, we need a second look. Something doesn't feel right. Do you think about, and does your team think about the impact that you're leaving on them, on those people's companies, but also in our industry? Is that something that you guys talk about?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's one of the biggest things. FleetGroup was built in 2001, I believe. And what we work off of referrals and recommendations. So when we go into a company, we're not just going to go in and say, here, this is what you should do, bye. We really want to make sure that you understand the recommendations, you understand the problems that you're having, and the best ways to go about it. So that's key. Because we actually just had a maintenance analysis a week ago, a larger company in Texas. And at the end of it, we wanted to make sure that they understood all the recommendations so that, we flew back out there, free of charge, just to make sure that they understand. So we definitely value and stand behind any company that we go to. That's for sure.
Yeah. And again, I think those are really important things to highlight, especially to the listeners that are questioning, okay, then what? It's like, well, there's follow-up, there's continuous support. And I think it's just lacking in the industry. So when people are actually doing it, that's part of my overarching goal, is introducing leaders that are creating that pivotal impact. It's things like that where it's just like, well, of course I went the extra mile. Like, why wouldn't you expect anything more or anything less, I guess? That to me is really key. And again, from a community perspective on the platform are my people that I'm sending to your training actually going to receive value? Yes, they will. And then obviously from the consulting side too. So there's a lot there. And I'm grateful for the chance just that we could talk about it.
No, I appreciate it as well. No, because it's like I said, it's a lot going on for an elevator speech. It needs to be more like an escalator or steps or something like that. I like to say, but that's the gist of what we're trying to do.
It's awesome. Well, man, you have my support for sure. And again, I'm super grateful for just the opportunity. Obviously, I'm a little bit of ways away here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And it's just really nice to see the unity and the collective effort in our industry. Because I speak on that all the time and I like being proven right. I like knowing that, hey, see, I told you there's like-minded professionals everywhere. So as time goes on and as our world continues to adapt to technology, to platforms, they will really start saying, hey, it's not about app overload and it's not about just having a platform, but it's the right platform and the right software. So you absolutely have my support. And I'm just grateful that we could talk today. This was really fun.
I appreciate that. I appreciate, all the content you post and, that helps as well. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. So just as we kind of come to a close, can you give us a recap again? Where do people go first from the platform? So the website, your contact details if people are like, hey, I need to sign up, or hey, I want some consulting done. And then also, I always like throwing out there, but if there's any final thoughts that you wanted to share today.
Sure. So once again, FleetGroup is the main site. That's all the information where you could find on our consulting services, where you could find the Fleet Professional Network login or sign up. You could contact me direct at Schenk, that's TSCHENK at fleetgroup.com. And as far as final notes, I think this was a very, very well done podcast, and I was able to get all the messages I wanted to get out there. So I appreciate that. Just to stress that this is a resource for people. A lot of people hear free, like you can't say the word free because they think there's strings attached. Basically, that's what it is. It's a resource. Create an account, use it. The more you use it, the more you're going to get out. If you sign up and you don't do anything with it, then nothing's going to come of it. So that's the main thing. Use it if that's what it's here for, and make the most out of it. And if you can't figure out what to do, contact me and I'll walk you through it.
Totally, man. Yeah, honestly, Tim, you have my full support. And again, I love the fact that we're aligned from family to industry mission. Collectively, I'm grateful and I highly recommend to our listeners, check out fleetgroup.com. Of course, I always include the show note or the links in the show notes. I'll include Tim's email address in the show notes too. And you have my full support, Tim. Really excited for what you guys are doing. And again, thank you so much for hopping on the podcast. This was awesome.
Yeah, very awesome. Thank you, Josh.
Thanks, babe. Have a wonderful day.
You
Bye.
too.
Thanks. So as I said at the beginning of our episode, I'm just really grateful for Tim. And I'm grateful for the fact that as an industry leader, we really align in how we think and how we can use the right technology to help organizations improve. But also we need to value people along the way to ensure that we exceed their expectations. So I really appreciate you joining me for a conversation on the podcast, Tim. And I look forward to the impact for yourself and your team and FleetGroup that you'll continue to have in our industry. So if you're interested in learning more about FleetGroup, I definitely tell you I recommend you to visit fleetgroup.com. If you have any questions, make sure that you reach out to Tim directly. I've included his email in the show notes below. So before you leave, I ask you to subscribe to our channel because I like to say the greater the following, the greater the impact. And if you like today's episode, make sure that you like it, you share it out. And again, just welcome to our community and thank you for your constant investment and time. It really means the world. As always, let's create a pivotal impact. Bye.